Welcome back to The Truth About Cancer, a Global Quest. I'm so happy that you joined us tonight. I hope that you were with us last night. We had an episode that was chock full of life-saving information, but just in case you missed it, here's a recap. Wow, what a liberating feeling it is to discover the blind spots that could potentially trigger cancer and to become empowered to understand and address the issue before it becomes life-threatening. And even if you're in a dire situation, isn't it amazing that by correcting these root causes that are hidden in these cancer blind spots, whether it's in the spine, the mouth, or another area, that we can enable the body to eliminate cancer, as you saw in the story of Bill Spalding, who beat cancer simply through correcting the root cause. It wasn't a subject we wanted to cover necessarily, but we knew that we had to. We knew that the topic of vaccines must be addressed. I hope that you've seriously considered this information as it relates to important decisions in your life, and that you can take the steps you know are the safest and most reliable in avoiding toxic substances that detrimentally affect your health, cause disease, and promote cancer growth. I'm glad we could help equip you with this essential information. We've learned the science behind homeopathy and the valuable contribution it's made to health and well-being. We're so glad to help reinforce the true science and evidence which supports this important area of natural medicine and its invaluable contribution to prevent and beat cancer. Finally, we've learned that what you think and feel does matter. As you've listened to this information, I hope you thought about your own life and what thoughts and feelings may be seriously injuring your health and happiness, as we've shared important action steps you can take as well as avenues to pursue. We hope that now, in this moment, you resolve to forgive and to forget. As the old saying goes, don't worry, be happy. And remember that laughter is the best medicine. Smile, laugh, tell someone you love them, breathe, relax, let someone know that you're grateful for them. Take time to fill your life with the things that bring you joy and happiness. Now, in last night's episode, we learned a lot about vaccines and the toxicity that most of these vaccines contain. In contrast with tonight, we're going to learn more about vaccines, but we're going to actually learn about vaccines that are helpful, not harmful. I know that may sound weird, but when we get into tonight's episode, I think you'll understand it a little bit more. But before we get to that, we're going to deal a little bit with detoxification, because detoxification is a huge part of the cancer puzzle. And we've heard from detoxification experts in the past, but some of the experts that we're going to hear from tonight have never shared the information that they've shared with us until these interviews. We're going to travel to Cologne, Germany. We're also going to travel to London as we learn more about this vitally important process of detoxification.
The cells in the body are interconnected by interstitial tissue or by matrix. Okay. This area in between the cells is where things happen. This is where the nutrients are and they enter into the cell. The dirt inside the cell go out into this area, and then the lymphatic system drains them away. So this interstitial tissue, this matrix, has to be clean. If it is contaminated, then oxygen won't be able to go through, and the cell can become cancerous. The proper nutrients cannot go through, and the cell can become cancerous. Potassium and magnesium cannot go through, so the cell becomes acidic in this case, and it can turn cancerous. That's why detoxification is very, very...
Then you talk about all the environmental pollutants, everything from phthalates to benzenes to fire retardants, chlorine, fluorine, the pharmaceuticals now that are in our body that you're not even taking.
They're in the water.
They're in the water, so we're getting them in another way.
We're living in a world, we're all living in a toxic world. The world is sick. Like the world has cancer right now. Trees are dying. The chemtrails, the soil is sick. The water is contaminated. The air in the world is contaminated. The only thing that we can do is to keep our self-healing mechanisms strong. And in order to keep our self-healing mechanisms strong, we have to keep our bodies clean. It all comes back to simplicity. After years of looking out here for the answer, I finally realized that the answer was right here, and realized that no disease can exist inside of a clean body.
No disease can exist inside of a clean body. But how do we get our bodies clean? It's through detoxification. When I was in San Diego, I was able to do an interview with Dr. Daniel Newsom. We sat down and he discussed the 1, 2, 3s of how we can detoxify our body.
Okay, first off, the garbage chute. We got to take the garbage out.
Okay.
Clean the colon.
Clean the colon.
Got to clean the colon.
So how do
Colon
we
has
clean
to.
it?
Coffee enemas. We can use colon hydrotherapy.
Okay.
My preference is usually with herbal supplements. Using herbal cleanses
Like psyllium, bentonite,
cascara sagrada,
cascara, okay.
bentonite, slippery elm bark.
Okay.
Buckthorn, very, very good.
Okay.
Very good. Those are good herbs. Humic acid, excellent for the entire digestive tract. But once you got to clear your exits as the, you got to clear one exit to clear the next. Well, your colon would be number one.
When we opened our cancer clinic in 1998, our main focus was how can we keep the intestines clean on a regular basis? Because we found most people, prescription drugs, over 900 prescription drugs, 90% of them cause constipation. They also kill the intestinal flora. Chemotherapy ruins the intestinal lining.
And the most important step for the human body is daily, gentle detoxification. Natural health practitioners still don't have it today. They don't understand it today. They still look at trying to do a cleanse on somebody every few months. So they still teach people to pile their crap up, create a manure pile, and then start to feel sick, and then let's do a deep cleanse, and then dump all those toxins out real fast, overload the body that's already overloaded. It's like everything in life, if you exercise a little bit each day, you show that you love your family a little bit each day, and you show you love your body a little bit each day, then we wouldn't get into this mess, would we?
So it's daily, gentle detox. There's a tea that you developed that we drink at our family. It's great for daily detoxification.
It's called the daily cleansing tea.
Daily cleansing tea,
yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? It's like this. Your large intestine is the mother of all organs. It houses almost 60% of your immune system. And whenever you're in trouble, what's the first thing that sticks out?
Belly.
Yeah, if it sticks out, it's full of gas. If it sticks out and it hangs down, that's your immune system falling down. That's your guts falling out. Meanwhile, you can walk down the street and you see 3 guys talking together on the corner and they're all rubbing it and seeing which one gets the wish first.
Like little Buddhas.
Yeah, it's an epidemic.
Dr. Wolf is accurate. It is an epidemic. Step 1, we must cleanse our colon. So now let's go to step 2 in the detoxification process for the entire body.
The next best exit to go to would be the urinary tract, the kidneys, bladder, clear that urinary tract system.
So how would we do that?
Parsley, asparagus.
Parsley, asparagus.
Your marshmallow root.
Okay.
And those types of, those would be very good.
Lots of water.
Lots of water.
Which you would want to go back to the colon if you're taking psyllium husk.
You got to have the water. Right. That's going to swell up and take up space, and so if you don't want to bloat, you got to keep it moist.
Okay.
And so it moves easy.
The liver and the kidney are the body's main detoxification organs. That's for environmental chemicals, our own metabolic waste, the dead cancer are processed and neutralized and prepared for excretion. And he opens up the Merck manual, and lo and behold, there are coffee enemas. The interesting thing, or the sad thing, or the ironic thing, Kelly was brutalized in the media for his use of coffee enemas. We get attacked about it today too. But they come right out of the conventional medical literature. He didn't learn about it from alien space beings being projected into his brain through some mystic psychic experience. He didn't learn about it through some alternative throwaway journal, local health history. He learned about it from the conventional medical textbooks. The Merck manual is a compendium of conventional therapies, and they were in the Merck manual. Coffee enemas were in the Merck manual right up until the 1970s.
Once the urinary tract was cleared, your best bet would be the liver. Follow that with the liver, clean the liver, clear the liver.
And coffee enemas, as Dr. Nick Gonzalez shared with us last time, one of the best ways to clean the liver.
Best ways. Your turmeric, milk thistle, virtually all of your root vegetables, beets, ginger, burdock, all of those things are very, very good at cleaning the liver.
You recommending that people eat those or that they take extracts?
If you want to clean it quick, extracts.
Extracts.
Extracts. You need the concentration. They need to be concentrated.
And this goes back years and years and years in research, is actually drinking oils, because oils are the only thing that are going to actually push the congestion out of the liver. So we developed a program based on ancient philosophies and techniques with modern philosophies and techniques, and experimented with different products and different herbs. And so we developed an herbal formula which uses boratutu bark and chancapiedra, which are rare rainforest Brazilian herbs, which will actually loosen and dissolve stones in the liver. And then we have them do that for 4 days, and on day 5 they drink an extra virgin olive oil with some Epsom salts, and they push. So it causes contractions of the liver, and it actually pushes all of that congestion out. What we found with evaluating over 100,000 liver cleanses is liver cleansing is probably one of the most effective ways of boosting your self-healing mechanism. Each liver cleanse is going to boost the liver production and efficiency by 10 to 15%, which means another thing we found in research is that most cancer and degenerative disease patients need multiple liver cleanses. The beauty of cleansing is you can do it in conjunction with any doctor that you're seeing, or any cancer doctor. As a matter of fact, we've had 4-stage cancer patients that have just done intestinal cleansing and balancing and multiple liver and gallbladder cleansing without taking any other supplement, 4th stage, with 2 weeks left to live, that have been sent home to die, that have continued liver cleansing and intestinal biosis, fixing their intestines, and just doing liver cleanse, liver cleanse, liver cleanse.
That's great information from Dr. Newsom and from Dr. Group about how to keep your liver clean and the importance of detoxifying the liver. In this next clip, we're going to hear from Sherry Calbone, the juice lady, about her gentle liver detoxification recipe.
But my morning shake is lemon and the juice of 1 lemon and 1 lime, and you can add orange too if you want to. For me, that's too much sugar. My body just does not like sugar at all, even orange juice. But you can put orange juice in there for sure. And then you add about a cup of water, a bunch of ice cubes, as many as you want to make it the temperature you want, a tablespoon of olive oil, 1 garlic clove, and a little chunk of ginger. And that's day 1. Day 2, it's 2 cloves of garlic and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then day 3, 3 and 3, 4 and 4. Day 5, 5 and 5. 5 garlic cloves, 5 tablespoons of olive oil, and the rest is the same. Don't breathe anyone that day.
Oh, because of garlic.
No, I'm teasing you.
Right. Well, either make sure that your husband and wife is drinking it with you, right?
Or eat 2 on parsley. That
Okay.
takes away the garlic breath. So that is, along with a carrot salad, a beet salad, and potassium broth soup, a beet juice drink, and a green juice drink. That is your liver cleanse, gentle liver cleanse program. And then you can add salads and soups and stir fries, but it should be an all vegetable week. It's a wonderful, gentle, very gentle liver cleanse. There are many others that are more heavy duty with herbs and different tinctures that you can add in. But if you want to do a gentle one, that is a great way to start working into it. Beets are wonderful for the liver. They're known as a liver food, liver cleanse food, along with many others, the dark leafy greens and carrot, olive oil, lemon juice, all of that is just wonderful for liver cleansing. And with my carrot salad and beet salad, I make them with the pulp. So I juice a beet first and pull out the pulp, and then I juice all my carrots to get a cup of pulp, and then add lemon juice and olive oil dressing to each of them. They're separate. I put cinnamon in there in my dressing because it just sparks up the flavor a whole lot. I love cinnamon. And then you eat your beet salad a couple tablespoons at a time throughout the day. Your carrot salad you can eat all at once. But it's done for you. It's so fast. You know, it's all done for you.
And it really
Juicy.
cleanses the liver, all these steps together.
Yes, and if anyone has had chemo and radiation, extremely important that you cleanse your liver. And I say to everyone who has cancer, has had cancer, and has been through chemo and or radiation, you must cleanse your liver, cleanse your whole body, because those things are so toxic. And if you don't, it's going to stay in your body, and it could contribute to cancer coming back, along with all the other toxicity that was there and contributed to cancer in the first place. But before you cleanse your liver, and we talked about it earlier, always cleanse your colon, because we want that channel of elimination very open and as clean as possible, so that when the liver starts dumping the toxins, it can get on out and get through your body. And I do want to say, for everyone who does a cleanse, if you don't feel well, don't worry, this too shall pass. It's going to come on through your system. You want it out. So if you end up with a headache, or you feel tired or a little fluish or achy all over, it's not going to hang around like the flu or a cold. It's going to move on through your body, and as those toxic things move out, you're going to feel a whole lot better, and you're going to be preventing disease from coming back or coming to you down the line.
So step 1 in cleansing your body, total detoxification, the colon. Steps 2 and 3 are the kidneys and the liver.
You have 2 kidneys, 1 liver, you have 100 lymph nodes.
Okay.
And if you don't clean out those lymph nodes, there's no way to then drain the tissues. So if we clean the colon, clean the kidneys, clean the liver, lymph nodes would be the last thing to focus on.
Okay, and how do you do that?
That, you need things like cat's claw, pau d'arco, burdock root, the Essiac formula,
Right.
excellent for cleaning out lymph nodes and draining those lymph nodes, getting the lymph fluid drained up.
And would you use that in conjunction with a daily rebounding?
Rebounding,
to stimulate the
yes,
lymphatic
rebounding
system?
would be excellent.
Okay.
You know, especially if you're trying to drain it. You know, the lymphatic system is has the lymphatic fluid is what's called a thixotrophic fluid. Thixotrophic fluid is like butter. The warmer it gets, the softer it gets, the more fluid it gets. The colder it gets, the harder it gets.
So as you heat your body up, it's
You
gonna
heat
flow better.
exactly.
Okay, I like
So you
it.
heat your body up, get it moving, bounce on a trampoline, do those types of things. You know, get it moving, raise the temperature a little bit. It liquefies that lymphatic fluid. It flows easier.
Okay.
If you can do that while you're doing things to clean the lymph nodes, they'll clean much faster, more efficient, and probably with fewer hiccups. You know,
Right,
you know, the detox effect. And
so does that
minimize.
last? And then
That
like
would be last.
So you've got 2 types of circulation in the body. You've got typically the blood, which everybody recognizes as the circulation, but then you've got the little known cousin that a lot of people don't recognize, and that's the lymphatics. And the lymphatics are the lymph nodes and the drainage system in the body that is basically there to remove waste product. So when people get the lymph nodes that are enlarged and the doctors say, oh my God, lymph nodes, we got to take them out. You know, you're just taking out the oil filters. Don't ever have your lymph nodes taken out, because if a lymph node gets hard, when you've got cancer, it means it's doing its job. It's filtering the cancer. It's holding on to that stuff. It's keeping it from disseminating out. You take that filter out. That's like having your car. You got a filter that's blocked. What do? You take out the filter and say, okay, now I don't have the problem. Nothing's blocking it. But now you've got all that sludge that was going into the filter before, now going right into the engine. You don't want that to happen. So the lymph nodes are part of the lymphatics drainage system.
Well, if you understand anything about the lymphatic system, critical drainage canal of the body, any restriction of that could put you at risk, particularly women who wear bras, the underwires, anything that restricts that area, because there's a lot of lymphatic, you know, as far as tissue associated with the fat cells as well. It's part of the detox processes. And if you wear a bra, not that you were going to wear a bra, but if you did, and the underwires are very restrictive. In fact, Sid Singer, we interviewed on our show together some years ago now, not long ago actually, and he wrote a book, Dressed to Kill, talking about the risk of wearing a bra 24/7. Your risk is, what, 3 out of every 4 women definitely going to develop cancer. Whereas if you were only 12 hours a day, that in likelihood of cancer drops to like 1 in 7. Whereas if you don't wear a bra at all, or it's a very loose-fitting scenario where there's no restriction of lymphatic tissue, your risk is no greater than anybody in a sense. You're not likely to suffer from the breast cancer.
We don't want to cut off the system. So, you know, when we're wearing those tight bras, and I think it's another thing in society where women feel that's what they're supposed to do: buy more bras, get more underwire, more support, more, you know. But the fewer hours a woman can wear a bra, the better.
And that doesn't even get into the issue of underarm deodorants and antiperspirants that add a lot of issues of blocking the normal detox processes through the pores, like sweating. And if you stop that sweating, you actually will bioaccumulate even more. The lymphatic system will be under additional burden because of the toxic things like aluminum that are put in these things to stop you from perspiring or sweating.
We're meant to sweat, so I quit probably 20 years ago or more wearing antiperspirant. I still wear a natural organic deodorant, but I don't, even for men, as kind of taboo subject as this is, yeah, I definitely don't recommend antiperspirant for men or women. It's not that, if you know, we're meant to sweat.
So detox step number 4 is to clean the lymphatic system. And as you're about to hear from Dr. Edward Group, step number 5 is a parasite cleanse.
And then we would do a parasite cleanse as well after the first liver cleanse, because we knew that then the intestines would be ready to expel them, and then the liver would be able to deal with the toxins produced by the parasites once we start killing them off inside the body.
Okay, great. And what were the ingredients in the parasite cleanse?
Well, we looked at a lot of different ingredients, and we decided that we would use the black walnut hull from the green hull. We would use American worm seed, epazote. We would use wormwood. We would use clove, kamala, and that combination with a couple other ones with bromelain, we would be able to, also using diatomaceous earth as a flow agent, we would be able to get rid of and purge the majority of the parasites inside the body.
And how long does the parasite cleanse portion take? How many days?
Parasite cleanse takes 6 weeks because that's the cycle of most parasites from the time that they lay eggs until the time they're an adult. So if you do a parasite cleanse for a shorter period than 6 weeks, then there might be eggs still left in there that might hatch. Now, the good news is this can all be done in conjunction with whatever doctor's supplements that you're currently taking, you know, whether you're doing ozone or anything. There's not any contraindications of doing an oxygen intestinal cleansing, doing liver and gallbladder cleansing, doing parasite cleansing, and then the last thing we would do would be chemical and heavy metal cleansing, which is also another factor that needs to be considered in conjunction with your cancer care.
Dr. Group just mentioned heavy metal detoxification. Now, one physician whose entire practice is built around detoxification, specifically heavy metals, is Dr. Rashid Buttar out of North Carolina. Dr. Buttar's entire medical practice is built around a 5-step program, the first of which is detoxification.
We have a 5-step program which has been evolving since 1997. But the 5 steps I'll outline. The first is systemic detoxification. You have to clean up the body. If you don't detoxify the body, then there are too many things in the way for the body to function correctly. And most of these toxicities are causing a detrimental effect in the body. They're increasing oxidative stress, etc., etc. So what we know is poisons. There's different mechanisms of how these poisons affect the body. You're probably familiar with, I know you're familiar with the 7 toxicities, my whole philosophy that I have all the different toxicities, and it goes heavy metals, the persistent organic pollutants, the opportunistics like the bacteria, viruses, spirochetes, mycoplasma, yeast. The 4th one is energetics like electromagnetic radiation, microwave energies, this, that, the other. Ambient cell phone radiation is a big one. The 5th one is the most important in my opinion. That's emotional psychological toxicity. The 6th one is foods. Not what we're consuming, but because that falls into the 1st and 2nd metal and persistent organic pollutant toxicity. But the 6th one is foods, what we do to the foods, which I know is near and dear to your heart. The irradiation, the homogenization, the pasteurization, the genetic modification of foods, all these things that we do to food and change the basic molecular structure of the things that we're taking into our body to sustain ourselves. These are severely, severely detrimental to the body. And then the 7th toxicity is spiritual. So these toxicities that I'm talking about, that's the first step. We deal with all those things.
I was diagnosed with stage 2A breast cancer December of 2010. I was 45. Then in 2011, I ended up doing chemo first. 6 rounds of chemo, 1st of February, started February 2011, and then after that had surgery, a double mastectomy, July of 2011, and then radiation in October, November of 2011. So I had the full gamut of treatment. I remember thinking, I want to close my eyes and I just don't want to wake up. And I was so mad that I was so mad at the world and the doctors, and I just thought, this isn't working, and how can you feel so bad? And my tongue was swollen, didn't know it was swollen, you know, I had all kinds of issues and was hardly eating and just sick, and I thought, I just want to close my eyes, and I just don't want to wake up the next day and do this again. And then when I woke up the next day, I thought, well, darn it, you know, I got to go through this, you know, I've got to go through another treatment. And I wanted to quit, but felt like it was a sign of weakness. And you know, me being type A, you know, we got to go through it and just get to the finish line. And I thought, this is not really a way of living. This is being poisoned, and I felt it and just didn't have the courage to stop it.
The second step is physiological optimization. What do I mean by that? The best way of thinking about it, if you have two people and one has shortness of breath when he walks down the steps or up the steps, and the other one runs 3 miles every day, well, the one that's running 3 miles every day is more physiologically optimized. So I want to optimize a person so their bodies are functioning at the highest level. And when you're dealing with cancer, the way you deal with that, and I'm not saying that people have to run, although I have cancer patients, and one of them that you're going to talk to does run 3 miles every other day, and she's stage 4 with multiple metastatic disease. But you know, the proudest thing that I'm off of when I see my patients, none of them look like they have cancer. That's the thing that, you know.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, that's the best way of being able to look at it.
Because that means they're not in cachexia cycle.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's an old saying, where growth stops, decay sets in. And so, you know, to me, this is not a static process. Either you're getting worse or you're getting better. There's no such thing as staying right there in the middle. So physiological optimization when you're dealing with a cancer patient would be, for example, the use of oxygen. Oxygen is highly detrimental to cancer because cancer is an obligate anaerobic metabolizer. It likes an oxygen-free environment. So if you give oxygen, it's detrimental to the cancer. Cancer is an obligate glucose metabolizer, so it needs sugar to sustain itself. The brain needs sugar, the body needs sugar, but we reduce the amount of glucose that's coming to the body so that there's less fuel for the cancer. So these are the types of techniques, and there's many different ways of doing this.
I was diagnosed with cancer the first time in 2014 by an oncologist here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was stage 2 ovarian cancer, and then 5.5 months later, unfortunately for myself, my family, and also for Dr. Buttar, I was diagnosed with a secondary primary cancer, breast cancer, that was also developing at the same time, unaware to my oncologist. The conventional treatments, in my case, the only conventional treatment I did was surgery. And I was one of the fortunate few that had a cancer, primary cancer, in organs that were not necessary for life. You know, I had a full hysterectomy in my surgery. It did work in that it did remove the cancer, a primary portion of the cancer, and it had not spread, and it was not in my lymph system yet. However, it was the treatment that the oncologist wanted to do, the chemotherapy, and it was not just plain use one port and put chemotherapy, administer it up here. They also wanted to put a second port on my rib cage, and they wanted to do something called intraperitoneal chemo, where they would have been giving me chemo, blowing up my abdomen like I'm pregnant every Monday, and blowing out my veins with a second chemo. It was the over-the-top aggressive chemotherapy they wanted to do that made me cringe. I lost 20 pounds after the surgery just thinking about the chemotherapy. And I dropped to like 106 pounds, was in menopause, and was just a mess. And my oncologist was ready to put poison in my body. And I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's amazing when you look at the standard oncology practices. When a person is becoming cachectic, they recommend Ensure. Are you familiar with Ensure?
Sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar and cream.
That's exactly right. Now, during my surgical residencies, I can tell you that Ensure was a precious commodity. The surgical residents, we'd go through the different wards and open up the refrigerators and find the Ensure and drink it because it is very tasty. I'm not going to deny that. But for a cancer patient, it's poison. It's literally poison, but it is like pouring gasoline on a fire. It is feeding that fire of cancer. The third step is immune modulation. Now, immune modulation is an important component. You notice that I didn't say increasing the immune system or decreasing the immune system. I said modulating the immune system because each patient is going to be different. Generally speaking, a person that has cancer, they have a suppressed immune system. The immune system has been damaged and it's lower. So we want to repair that immune system. We want to get it back up. They're just recognizing now that the immune system is important in cancer. I have had patients tell me that they've shown their doctors the natural killer cell profile that we do before and after, the lymphocyte subpopulation that we do before and after, to measure our results, to see where's the patient at, how much further improved have we been able to help the immune system get to. And I've had patients tell me, including this particular patient, tell me that when they showed their oncologist this paperwork, these lab tests, the response that they got from more than half the doctors was, some of them said they didn't know what that meant or didn't know how to interpret it. But more than half of them said, what relevance is this? What's the natural killer cells got to do with cancer? For God's sake, that's why they call them natural killer cells. Because they naturally kill things that are not supposed to be in the body, like cancer. So it's a really severe disconnect that the conventional side has. And when I say conventional, there is only one medical science. It's just that you've got these different groups, and some are open to innovation and some are not. So I consider myself in the category that are open to innovation, and then the ones that are not, they're just too vested in the status quo, too ingrained in it the way it is right now. So the modulation of the immune system is key because you cannot have cancer if you have an adequate and functioning immune system. If you don't have a functioning immune system, now you can get cancer. But there's no such thing as, my cancer has nothing to do with my immune system because my immune system's fine. There's no such thing. If you have cancer, you don't have an immune system. Your immune system's been damaged. That's it. So our focus is to get that immune system back up.
The beginning of last year, I was doing blood tests every 6 months, and my blood tests came back elevated. And so went in for another bone scan, CT scan, PET scan this time, and found it in my spine, sternum, and a spot on my left hip. I did 1 round of chemo, and then at that point, that's where Ty Bollinger and Chris Wark and even Kelly Turner's book, Radical Remissions, had just come out, and it was just released. And I saw that the day I went in for my round, and couldn't get the book in time. So I had that first round of chemo and came home that day, got the book, started reading the book, and then that's when I stopped the chemo. In talking with Chris, I asked him who he recommended, if he knew of anybody here in the Charlotte area, and he recommended Dr. Patar, and that's how I got to Dr. Patar. I think it was God just saying, there's another option for you. And so that's when I said, okay, stop. I don't care what happens, I've got to look at something else. Someone else is speaking to me, someone else higher is speaking, and I need to listen. Or I just know I would not be here today, not at all. I wouldn't have made the 12 rounds, the 12 treatments.
Our goal in this 4th step is target acquisition, that we want to acquiesce the target. We want the body to identify the cancer as being foreign, because right now the cancer is mimicking a fetus and saying, hey, I'm supposed to be here, and that's why you see cancer secreting alpha-fetoprotein and human chorionic gonadotropin. Even though it may be a male, it doesn't matter because it's trying to show the body that I'm okay, you don't have to be worried about me, I'm supposed to be here. So we want the body to identify the cancer as being foreign. And the way we do that is through ARSOTA, and that stands for autogenous antigen receptor specific oncogenic target acquisition. This 4th step is to acquiesce the target, meaning having the body identify the cancer and being able to do what it needs to do to follow the way that the ultimate engineer designed our bodies. Our bodies were designed that when we identify cancer, when the body's immune system identifies a cancer, it starts doing what it's supposed to do. But because the immune system first is defunct and not functioning, it can't do that. So we fixed that with the third step, which is immune modulation. And then with the fourth step, now the immune system may be strong and able and capable to fight, but doesn't know what it's supposed to fight. It doesn't know who the enemy is. So that fourth step, our SOTA, is designed to allow the individual's immune system to identify the cancer as being foreign. It's a fancy term for creating a vaccine specific to that individual's cancer, but it's not a vaccine. It's allowing the body to identify the cancer as being foreign, and when we give those injections, then the person's body starts responding. We are basically getting the proteins from the cancer, creating a treatment that's specific to the patient, because where does the cancer start from? It starts from the DNA, right? That's what's unique about the cancer. So it's specific to that individual's DNA. We give it back to them, and the body now sees that as being foreign. And as soon as it sees that being as foreign, it sees anything with the same morphological characteristics as being foreign. And all of a sudden, the whole body lights up. Wherever the cancer is in the body, it lights up because we just introduced it in a way the body can see it as being foreign. And boom, it just snaps to it. And that's what we call the shift. That's when a person gets sick because their body's responding. So all of a sudden, the treatment, the immune system, the way that God designed the system, now recognizes the substance that's cancer that shouldn't be there, and the body is fixing the individual. Not me, not chemo, not radiation, not some other pill or vitamin. No, it's the body itself doing what the ultimate engineer created to do to fight the cancer. And then the fifth step is arguably the most difficult, and that's maintenance. Meaning that once you've crossed that line, you have to live your life a certain way.
It was during a trip to Atlanta my husband and I took to Cancer Treatment Centers of America to get a second opinion from an oncologist there that we realized the Truth About Cancer series was playing free that weekend online. And we didn't have any children with us that weekend. I was very conflicted. I had been a pharmaceutical rep for 14 years and had known the medical industry. That had been my career. We were able to watch 7 to 8 episodes of Ty Bollinger's The Truth About Cancer. It was during these seminars online that we watched that it gave us the courage and the confidence that many other individuals and survivors had gone through natural treatments and were living. Dr. Buttar, I believe, hits cancer from many angles, and you've heard or may have read his book about the 7 toxicities that he mentions in his book, The 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away. I believe I had many of these toxicities. Not only was my body toxic with metals, it was also toxic with pollutants, and I also believe emotionally and psychologically I had gone through 3 miscarriages trying to conceive a second and third daughter, and during these times of grief that really contributed, I believe, to the ovarian cancer and breast cancer diagnoses that I received that year. His treatment hits all 3 of these toxicities. There's, chelation and many different IVs that Dr. Buttar gives that help your body get rid of toxins. And I have seen my body get rid of so many toxins at home through the protocol at home, which is very aggressive, as well as through the chelation in the office. Also, the things that Dr. Buttar gives to build up your immune system are phenomenal. I can literally go to treatment and be in treatment all day, have 6 or 7 bags of various great things that I believe God made to heal our bodies, that my body even makes, just not enough. I didn't have enough of those substances in my body to heal. And I can go home and cook dinner and take care of my little ones. The cancer that I had in my body is definitely going away, and I hope to be cancer-free any day now or any month now. We are doing some of those tests as we speak, and all of my parameters, my blood work is of a healthy, 30-something-year-old. So this is really great news. My energy, my color, all of those things, my liver, my kidneys are all functioning at 100% and like a healthy individual would be. So we are very grateful that the cancer markers are so very low, and I may be cancer-free today, but I hope to be cancer-free soon if I'm not. Dr. Buttar has brought something to my family we thought we wouldn't have. After the diagnosis last year, psychologically and mentally, I just thought I was on my way out. I'm usually a positive person, but all I could see was myself laying in a bed after doing chemo treatments and being 85 pounds. And having my daughters, my little ones, not even know me, grow up without a mother, as well as my 8-year-old just watch me die, not to mention my husband. So what the Quest for the Cures gave us, and also Dr. Buttar, was hope that you can heal naturally, that there are so many things that I believe God has given us in this world that can build up your immune system, A, and 2, can remove toxicities, and can also just increase your vitality and your overall health. And I believe that I've experienced all of those through the unconventional treatment that we chose in this path. And I have to be honest, we thought, because I was a drug rep, as I mentioned, for 14 years, we thought, okay, if this doesn't work, then we'll go back and we can always do chemo. That was kind of our, fallback scenario that we gave to friends and family, because they were horrified that we were not going through with conventional treatment. And there's a lot of pressure after a diagnosis to start treatment immediately, start the chemo tomorrow. But we have done, I think I've done so well with the therapy. There's no reason to ever compromise my body, and my GI tract was the only thing I had going for me at the time of diagnosis, and that would have been wiped out after one chemo treatment. So we are just so grateful and thankful that we had this option, and we hope that many others will also be brave enough to travel the road less traveled, so to speak.
Well, those are some really encouraging testimonials from Trina and Betsy, 2 of Dr. Buttar's patients. And we're going to hear the rest of their stories later on in the show. Dr. Buttar shared with us his 5-step protocol for treating disease. The first step is detoxification. The next step, step number 2, physiological optimization. Step number 3 is immune modulation. Step number 4 is target acquisition. And then step number 5, which he says is probably the most difficult, is maintenance. Now, step number 4 is target acquisition. Dr. Buttar uses a vaccine that's called Arsoda. It's a completely non-toxic vaccine. We're going to strap on our seatbelts now. We're going to fly across the Atlantic Ocean to Cologne, Germany, and we're going to meet another doctor that uses a completely non-toxic vaccine in his practice in Cologne.
What we do here is both the total fever range, total body hypothermia, the local hypothermia. We do ozone therapy. We do vaccinations with dendritic cells, and all kinds of things for immune restoration, including mistletoe, Viscum album, and also the preparations made from cannabis.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give you then a tour, and
awesome.
we'll start from this side. Here's now the total body hypothermia.
Total body hypothermia, okay.
Yeah, we call this fever range total body hypothermia, to emphasize that we don't do extreme temperatures. The heat comes from these lamps, that is then infrared indeed, and the principle is so that the infrared doesn't go deep, but it goes maybe for a centimeter through the skin, and the blood flow in the skin works like in a central heating system where you have hot water running through the house. So the blood is heated up, so to speak, and then it circulates through the body, and then the whole body is warmed up, slowly but surely. Okay. It's a very elegant way, and so usually after about 2 hours, the patient is at 38.5, 39 degrees Celsius. Then we switch off the lamps, and then we leave the patient for an hour, and then they have a steady state, and then we slowly cool them off. And when they cooled off, then we have here a shower. Then patients take a shower. Then we give patients the vaccination with dendritic cells.
Dendritic cell vaccine.
Yeah, dendritic cell vaccination. The Nobel Prize for medicine in 2011 was awarded for 3 researchers who discovered the function of dendritic cells. And also then we quite a way jumped on their research, and we further developed it, how to make dendritic cells from patients' simple own white blood cells. So that's what we do. And you can sort of say that dendritic cells can be seen as the policeman of the immune system, because these dendritic cells, they really migrate through your whole body. everywhere they can come, tip of your nose, your liver, your prostate, they look for abnormal cells. And when they find one, then they quickly, in a lymph node, inform natural killer cells, and they kill. So dendritic cells can only sort of see what is right and wrong, but then they inform cells which have as a function to kill. And that's what happens. And if that functions well, then within 24 hours, a cancer cell which has been detected is then also killed. Yeah? And now when you get cancer, you could sort of say in this image, these policemen all need reading glasses. They can't see so well anymore. And therefore cancer cells get a chance. They are unnoticed, and then they pass by and they start to grow. And so what we do, we can make from one simple blood draw, and from monocytes or simple white blood cells, we can make a whole new generation policemen, dendritic cells. And they are given back. And so it's very safe because it's autologous, so body's own tissue. So there's no something from a donor. I come from the AIDS epidemic, so you're always afraid that you might transport something unknown through a blood product. So it's absolutely safe, no side effects, no rejection, and that is what we do. And then suddenly I say to a patient, now you get, let's say, 20 million young, fit policemen, so from the police academy, and they really like to make hell in your body.
I like that analogy, the policeman.
Yeah, but it's really true. So the policeman, as an image, it's really true. Because good policemen, they will recognize a rapist and a bank robber and a banker or other things, people who, so they do. So they don't only notice cancer cells, but also cells which are one way or another damaged by a virus infection or another way of a mutation. So therefore these dendritic cells are very important, but really patients understand right away when you give that image of a policeman. That they see more than just one bad guy.
So you got the dendritic cells that you're using here?
Yeah. And of course, then we have the hypothermia. We like to do before we give the dendritic cells. The patients go through a moderate period of fever, which we then initiate by infrared lamps. And also, if people have metastases, so cancer in the lungs and liver or elsewhere, then we treat that in addition with local hypothermia. And the principle is that we bring through a region with cancer tissue, this electromagnetic field, and that's very selectively. Only cancer cells are quickly increased in the temperature, and then the cancer cells always make lactic acid, and then the production of lactic acid is almost tripled, and then the pH goes down, so it gets more and more acidity in the cell, and then the cell dies during the treatment. So, and also no side effects, no toxicity, except we once say if people have a pacemaker. That's the only contraindication, because a pacemaker can go astray when you put a strong electromagnetic field on it. Often, even in medical school, it is often portrayed that fever is the cause of illness, but it's opposite. Your body, the last attempt to activate your immune system is to produce fever, and when your body temperature goes up 1 degree, your immune system is in absolute state of alert, because by normal core body temperature, your immune system is automatic pilot. It does its thing, but if there's any emergency, the only way to activate the immune system is through fever. There's no other way. What do I say a cancer patient who has now end-stage disease and told nothing we can do? I say, well, possibly we can still do something and give you hope, because we do it very differently.
I agree with Dr. Gorder. There is always hope. And hope is often missing when it comes to cancer. Have you ever heard of the placebo effect? The placebo effect demonstrates the power of the mind in healing. The placebo effect is when somebody may be healed by taking nothing more than a sugar pill, but they think that they're going to be healed, and so they are. Modern medicine tends to frown on the placebo effect as if it's a bad thing. But is it really a bad thing?
I think that in modern medicine, this demonization of placebo effect is the most ridiculous thing. We should be harnessing it. So if we can actually elicit that type of response in an individual, where we can get a benefit in that individual from just the power of belief without changing their physiology, it's our ethical and fiduciary responsibility as healers, as doctors, to harness that power and get that result. Because if we can do so with the least harm, that's the first part of being a doctor, right? Do no harm.
Do no harm.
And if you give somebody narcotics, you are affecting them in a negative way. You're affecting their liver. There's harm that's being done. So if we can get the same result without giving them a narcotic, why shouldn't we? And why is that poo-pooed? Why is that ridiculed that, oh, you got this result from a placebo? You should get a Nobel Prize if you can elicit a response from a placebo.
The placebo effect is the basis for evidence-based medicine. They have to control for it for even to have this sort of hierarchical power structure saying that they have the evidence and the truth, right? Double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trials. That's the absolute truth in their model. Well, why are they controlling for the placebo? It's so powerful. It's even more powerful than most of the medications they're using. And so what the placebo is basically this self-healing ability that I've now outsourced to you because you're the doctor, I believe in you. When you tell someone that their body is constantly self-healing, they can overcome cancer in the same way that they may have a scratch on their knee and they can watch it heal, and they believe that, they do the right things, then they will heal cancer. And that is really the power that we have, that the medical profession really doesn't either know, they either don't know it or they don't want you to know about it.
Most of you have probably heard about the placebo effect. But have you heard about the nocebo effect? Let's listen to Sayer G.
This is one of the most powerful studies of our time, published in the New England Journal of Medicine just 3 years ago, which showed, based on a huge group of Swedes, we're talking about 500,000 in this study, that when they were given the results for their cancer test, okay, looking at different types of cancers, and if they were told positive, what happened is that within 1 week of that diagnosis, they had up to 26.9-fold increased risk of death from heart-related events. So what happens is it's like a shaman in an old culture pointing a bone at a member and saying, you're gonna die tomorrow. That person is so convinced that that authority is so valid that they go walk off into the woods and the next day they die. Exactly proven by this new study. The power of belief and what they call the nocebo effect, which is if your physician who you trust more than your own self-healing ability comes in and says, you're gonna die, look at these results, you have 6 months, guess what? You're probably going to end up dying. But what this study showed was that the belief is so powerful, your actually heart fails on you within 1 week. It just crashes. You die because of your belief. And it's not based on evidence. It's based on the belief that someone else knows your fate better than yourself. And that is why we have to be extremely careful about conventional medicine and this type of diagnosis.
You mentioned nocebo effect. What is nocebo effect?
Yeah, the placebo effect is really I will help, basically, because if you believe your physician, like your mother who's taking care of you, is going to heal you with
She gives you a sugar pill.
Exactly. The same thing is true, is that if you believe, or your doctor comes to you and you feel a negative vibe, or you think they don't like you, or they think you're going to die, it means I will harm. It means you believe that, you incorporate it into your life, your belief system, feeds into your physiology, and then you end up having an adverse effect or dying.
So the nocebo effect. So it's like the flip side of that coin.
It's the exact opposite.
Placebo is positive, nocebo is negative.
It's true, and it also tells us that physicians have an ethical and medical responsibility to be aware of their affect, to be aware of their belief system, and realize if they're quoting from some statistical data set of poor outcomes based on really outdated cancer therapies, let's say it's radiation and chemo, which is just absurd ultimately, it's on them. They have to educate themselves, and they should be inculcating into the patient a belief in the healing power that they have. If they don't know, I understand, they weren't trained on this, but they should probably be doing something else than treating people with cancer if they don't know that. And it's no longer just a bunch of people on the periphery like us saying, you know, you got to do better. It's New England Journal of Medicine, one of the highest impact journals, stating that this is a lethal force. Nocebo effect is as real as the placebo. They are responsible for what they say, what they know, and they should never pronounce someone dead based on statistics of an outdated way of treating people with cancer.
I have to agree that the big three treatments, chemo, radiation, and surgery, they are outdated methods for treating cancer. But what about somebody that's already undergone those treatments or is currently undergoing chemo, radiation, or surgery? Is there hope for them as well? You bet there is.
When it comes to people that have taken the chemotherapy or the toxic drugs that associated with that, you're going to look at immune boosting, I like to say mushrooms. Reishi and cordyceps, they have to happen. In fact, everybody, in my opinion, minus any toxicity or any contradictions, which at this point there are none for cordyceps, should be taking cordyceps in this environment. Now, what the cordyceps mushroom does is it ups your immunity and it ups available oxygen in your body. So cancer, as you know and everyone watching probably knows, thrives in a non-oxygen based environment or an anaerobic environment. So when you take this cordyceps, studies have shown that it ups your body's oxygen, internal oxygen, by 40%, ATP by 28%, and then it also increases your natural killer cell activity by 400%. And that was in people that had cancer for the last one, the natural killer cells. The athletes in China, it's been Chinese medicine for a long time. And in 1993, it became like right on the radar because the women's marathon team started shattering all these records, and they were shattering them by not 1 or 2 seconds, but 30, 40 seconds, just huge amounts. And people were trying to figure out what was going on. They were taking cordyceps. They had supplemented with cordyceps.
More oxygen.
More oxygen, exactly. More available oxygen for the muscles. So what happened at that point is the sports commissions and the sports regulation bodies said, look, we got to regulate this stuff because it's very prominent in China, and they know how to develop it, and they have the best sources. It's not fair for other countries that don't have these sources, because now this is a unfair advantage. So now it's disseminated everywhere. You can buy it everywhere, but cordyceps is the way to go.
So you buy it at a health food store?
Yep, a health food store.
Okay. Do you take a supplement or the fresh mushrooms?
That's a great question. You can take a tincture, which is the drops with water, or you can take a pill. Either way, some companies are actually infusing it into coffee to go a step further.
I've seen that.
So there you go. I mean, people that don't like to take supplements, if they're coffee drinkers, you do that. Now, the other part of the mushroom I want to talk about is the reishi mushroom. The Biodefense and Bioshield Department of the United States did studies on the reishi mushroom for the big dogs, for swine flu, bird flu, some of the really nasty viruses. And at 1 to 100 dilution, it was showing huge virus killing abilities with this stuff. It ups your macrophages, it ups your immune system.
One of the substances in mushrooms that makes them so medicinal and so potent against cancer is called beta-glucan. Here's scientist and immunologist A.J. Lanigan, who has developed one of the most potent forms, if not the most potent form, of beta-glucan available on the market, discussing that topic.
Just a couple of weeks ago, yet another study has been published, ironically, in the Journal of Tumor.
Journal of Tumor.
Journal of Tumor, it demonstrating that even if people are going standard of care,
right,
chemo, radiation, and so forth, which would typically drive white blood cell counts down, then this material will actually mitigate and keep those white blood cell counts up.
So beta-1,3-D-glucan is a substance that you can use if you're currently undergoing chemo and radiation to help your immune system stay strong and so that it won't be crippled by the treatment.
That is correct, because one of the things that we do know, without that compound, the chemo and the radiation basically wipes out everything. And if it's not successful, we know that only the bad guys are left behind.
Right.
And the cancer is going to come back, with a tear, and you have no defense at all.
Again, the immune system is the key. Now, there are foods and herbs that contain certain properties that can turn off or turn on switches in cancer cells, and they can also prevent oxidative stress. People have heard of oxidative stress. What is it? How can you minimize it? And what kind of a role does it play in cancer?
Absolutely. Well, oxidative stress is kind of this chemical reaction. The best kind of example for anybody to understand would be kind of metal when metal rusts, right? It's got all these environmental factors that are coming against it, and it ends up rusting. We've all seen that happen. Well, within our body, there's this war against rusting our cells versus our cells actually protecting themselves alone, right? So our cells are God put this power within us to protect us from oxidation, from environmental stresses. And what our body does is every single cell has a little signaling mechanism. It's called the keep-1 pathway, right? So think about it, keep us healthy, right? Okay. So that keep-1 is this little receptor, and he's just kind of got his hand out there, and he's just checking the water, right? And as the water gets hot, okay, let's say as the water gets hotter, that's more of this environmental oxidative stress that's coming. The water gets hot, it sends a signal. It tags its partner, which is called NRF2 gene pathway, right? And this NRF2 enzyme... NRF2. You'll hear about that. NRF2. That then goes and it signals our antioxidant response element, ARE, the antioxidant response element. The antioxidant response element is a very powerful pathway. What it actually does is it amplifies our body's entire oxidative stress defense system. All the antioxidants are going. So instead of just like one antioxidant to quench one free radical, a 1-to-1 ratio, it sends out hundreds of thousands of signals to protect the whole cell, the whole genome from oxidative stress. Very powerful pathway.
So it's like it opens the floodgates.
That's right. Opens the floodgates, like full military defense. We're fully ready, stocked, and on guard.
So how can you open the floodgates? What substances might do this?
Yes, this is huge, because if we want to prevent cancer, we've got to activate this response. We want it to be very sensitive. We want our system to be so good with this pathway. There's 4 key compounds, many different lifestyle activities like exercise that help enhance that, but compounds that we can take in from nature that are going to really dramatically improve that antioxidant response is 4 things, and your listeners may have heard of some of these. Resveratrol, we find that in berries, right? So consuming blueberries, consuming grape skins, that's the #1 source, and we've heard about it in red wine. Resveratrol, very powerful for ramping up that NRF2 keep 1 ARE pathway. You also have it in something called sulforaphane, okay? Sulforaphane is found in cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, collard greens, Brussels sprouts. #1 source from nature is going to be broccoli sprouts, right? Which you can find at most health food stores nowadays. You can find broccoli sprouts, put them on your salad every single day, ramp up that pathway. Also curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric. Curcuminoids, they help ramp up that pathway, especially if you combine them with a little bit of black pepper and also good oils, making them fat soluble, right? Ramps up that pathway. And the last thing is going to be catechins, which are like ECGC, okay, which is what we find in green tea, chocolate. Most people like chocolate. Dark chocolate, no sugar in it, loaded with catechins that ramp up this NRF2 antioxidant response element in our system to protect our genome.
Awesome information from Dr. Jockers. Now here's Dr. Nalini Chilkov discussing some of those same herbs that Dr. Jockers mentioned, but she'll be discussing the ways that they affect the immune system and also help in detoxification.
I really am a fan of some of the great traditional Chinese herbs. All of the medicinal mushrooms are extraordinary immune modulators, signal cancer cells to turn their apoptotic switch on and to die, and also manage inflammation really well. Also, the medicinal mushrooms are really good for managing insulin and blood sugar, and so are the ones you put in your salad, by the way. So that would be cordyceps mushroom, that would be reishi mushroom, ganoderma, shiitake mushroom you can add to your food, maitake mushroom. Coriolis is one of the most powerful, that's turkey tail mushroom. So those are very powerful, and they can actually be used with chemo and radiation if a patient is actually having those therapies,
And they'll
right?
help.
Right.
They'll help mitigate the side effects?
Well, they'll help mitigate the side effects, but they also keep you stronger, right? So that your immunity is not pressed down. Okay. And in that same family, so all of the mushrooms have beta-glucans and polysaccharides in them, and that's what makes them medicine. They also have CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid. That's anti-inflammatory, and it also turns on a gene that regulates blood sugar and insulin, PPAR gamma. And in the same family is one of my favorite herbs, astragalus. Astragalus is huangqi in Chinese medicine, also an enormous amount of research, also rich in polysaccharides and beta-glucans, and really ramps up your white blood cells and your natural killer cells. So we're always looking for things that are going to increase natural killer cells. These are the army of our immune system that go after cancer cells and also viral cells. And astragalus is also one of these things you can take safely for long periods of time. And for patients who've had their therapies like chemotherapy that depress their white blood cells and then they're vulnerable to infections, astragalus is one of the best things to increase white blood cells and natural killer cells. And acupuncture also does that. Very powerful. I'm also an acupuncturist. A lot of the herbs that are good for detoxification are either rich in essential aromatic oils, or they have alkaloids in them that stimulate us to excrete things, or they are rich in sulfur. So there's a lot of herbs and supplements that are rich in sulfur. So I actually very much like garlic. That's a simple herb that anybody can use. I try to put into these resources things that anybody can get, no matter if you don't have a lot of money or you do have a lot of money. Everybody can do that. So garlic actually has some anti-tumor activity, but it actually stimulates the excretion of a lot of toxic chemicals. So do the radish and cabbage family vegetables, which are rich in sulfur. So the garlic family and the cabbage family have all this sulfur in them. A traditional remedy actually used to be cabbage juice, right?
Yeah.
Before kale was so popular. And it's the sulfur that turns on your liver enzymes to start producing chemicals that detoxify.
The sulfur does.
Yeah, sulfur is one of the most detoxifying chemicals. So think about N-acetylcysteine, lipoic acid. These are rich in sulfur. All the sulforaphanes, right, are chemicals in the cabbage family that not only interrupt the development, progression, and metastasis, traveling of cancer cells, the sulforaphanes interrupt every stage of cancer. So they're very powerful, but they also promote detoxification, particularly of hormones. And so they're hormone-driven cancers. I always add the sulforaphanes in for that.
Why is sauerkraut the new superfood?
Sauerkraut's a new superfood because it's wonderful. You get a spoonful of sauerkraut delivers trillions of probiotics and enzymes, which are just so powerfully anti-cancer. So our gut health is the center of our immune system. 80% of our immune cells are in our gut. So looking after the healthy bacteria there is just so important for whatever you're dealing with, you know, digestion, you know, stress, any you know, immune sort of problem, which cancer of course is. I came across an interesting article recently though from the University of Michigan, and it was showing that healthy bacteria can help you get through chemo. And I think the article was titled "Gut Reaction: Mice Survive Lethal Doses of Chemotherapy." And they were talking about how important this healthy bacteria is. Wow. So great for people going through chemotherapy, great for anyone.
We always want to recommend probiotics, right? Because, you know, the gut microbiome is one of the most important things to our health. And what people don't realize is that they understand, oh, when I take an antibiotic, it lowers the good bacteria in my gut. Right. But chemotherapy is like, we would consider like 100 times stronger than an antibiotic. And that's why people lose weight. They have diarrhea, they have malabsorption, because when we give chemotherapy, it also knocks out the good bacteria in the gut. By doing that, then they have a malabsorption problem. Then their nutrition is poor. So no matter what they're eating, it goes right through them, and then they lose weight, they don't have enough strength, their immune system's down, and then sometimes they die from the therapy. Right? So we have to look at strengthening the GI tract. So a lot of times when we work with patients looking at how do we keep your immune system up, how do we decrease swelling post-chemo or from the radiation, how do we decrease a burn, for example, or you know the tumor is dying off, rightfully so, there's still going to be swelling around the tissue. What natural agents like proteolytic enzyme formulas, and you know if they have a hormone sensitive cancer, how can we help the excretion of the hormones, right? So through the liver, for example. So we have certain drugs that block it, like I mentioned, they were mentioning here in the conference, tamoxifen and all these other type of drugs. Okay, they block it, but it's still in the body circulating, right? So how can we help the body augment that excretion? Even through diet, how we can increase like fiber, for example. So people eat a plant-based diet, they get about 40 grams a day. The study showed that women had estrogen-positive breast cancer who had 3 bowel movements a day had the lowest recurrence rate because their body's able to, once the hormones go through the liver, it goes into the gallbladder, takes it out with the bile, it goes into the small intestine, and fiber binds that and excretes it.
When it comes to aromatherapy and using oils internally and topically, these oils not only help with cancer, but the side effects. And that's so critical because as you've traveled the world, Ty, you talk to people that are cancer survivors and people struggling with cancer, it's really the side effects that get them. And oftentimes it's not the cancer that kills them, it's a common cold or a flu or you name it, right? Because it compromises the immune system.
From a devastated body.
And that's what the essential oils do when it comes to sleeplessness, nausea, and especially with myrrh. I mean, the research on myrrh when it comes to the side effects inadvertently related to cancer are pretty just encouraging for folks.
So, Dr. Gatz, tell us about what is chemobrain to start with, and what natural treatments can you use to remedy this condition?
Well, here we are at a cancer conference talking about natural therapies. And what I have found is many people who have undergone chemotherapy end up with this terrible condition called chemobrain, where they can't think straight. They can't remember things. They can't remember where they put their keys. So they can't remember. I had one woman, she couldn't remember how to put dishes in the dishwasher. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And what they're told by their oncologist is, A, be happy you're alive, and B, it'll go away. It'll get better. It doesn't. It doesn't. It may wear off. Usually not. There's a lot you can do to give the body what it needs, give the brain what it needs in terms of what it can, raw materials to make neurotransmitters like phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylserine, raw materials for building brain cell walls, vinpocetine and ginkgo, which help the circulation in the brain. So all of that is wonderful for helping chemo brain. And people should know about this because their oncologist is not going to tell them.
Now this was one of the things I wrote in my cancer book years ago. I said it's a good possibility that chemotherapy is damaging the brain. At that time, the literature was denying it. They said, well, no, it can't damage the brain because it can't get past the blood-brain barrier. And I didn't believe that. Well, now it's been proven. They went back and they looked at cancer survivors and measured their cognitive ability to think and remember and learn and language function, and found out they were impaired. Virtually all of them were impaired.
From the chemo?
From the chemo. And then when they did it in animals and they looked at their brain, yes, it was destroying parts of the brain that have to do with those functions. So now it's well recognized that it produces it. Well, they have no way to protect the brain. These flavonoids like curcumin, quercetin, lagic acid, resveratrol, and norelin, they powerfully protect the brain against damage by the chemotherapy.
Wow, they sound like miracle herbs.
Well, they are. I mean, they're incredible, but this is what you expect when God made something.
Yeah, he didn't make any mistakes.
And when you look at what these things are doing, like curcumin, for instance, is one that's most researched, it does virtually everything that you want it to do. And the difference between it and a chemotherapeutic agent is that chemotherapy attacks one thing in the cancer cell. The cancer cell finds a way to go around it very quickly, and that's why it escapes treatment. Curcumin affects so many processes in the cancer cell, it can't overcome it, so it dies. And so that's the advantage of these flavonoid things being used for cancer treatment versus chemotherapeutic agents.
It's very encouraging to see that there are a multitude of natural substances that can help to mitigate the side effects from chemotherapy, even chemo brain. But just in case you're still discouraged, maybe you're currently undergoing chemotherapy or you've undergone several rounds of chemotherapy and you're concerned about your immune system, we're going to share with you the rest of the story from Trina. Now, you heard about Trina earlier in the episode and you saw the fact that she underwent several rounds of chemotherapy. But we're going to hear the rest of her story now, and it's going to really encourage you that there is always hope.
When you get that diagnosis, you're shell-shocked, and it just takes all the breath out of you, and it just takes you right down to your knees. When I talk to other people, I tell them you have other options. I tell them about Ty, and I tell them about Bill Henderson or Chris Warwick or Dr. Batar or 1,000 other doctors out there that are actually trying to get the message out that you don't have to go the conventional way. I feel better today than I have in probably 10 years. I have tons more energy, and I started running again, and I ran 3 to 5 miles until I broke my arm, and now I'm back down to square one. But I feel better today than I have in probably 10 years. Thank you to Ty and Chris and Bill Henderson, and I've watched all of Ty's documentary, the whole entire thing, several times, and continue to watch some of his excerpts from on Facebook when he'll bring some of those out every once in a while. Dr. Gonzalez, and a big thank you to each and every one of those doctors who participated, because they truly saved my life. And I think Dr. Batar definitely is one of those that this documentary, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't think I would have had another option. And so it's just a huge thank you. Thank you for doing what they're doing.
I'm so pleased that during this episode we've equipped you with knowledge about the most advanced ways to detoxify your body, removing harmful heavy metals and other toxins from all your vital organs. I'm excited that we were able to share the amazing discoveries of healing vaccines and how this innovative cancer solution is saving lives through enabling the body to powerfully heal itself. I'm glad you were able to see the successful innovative therapies inside the German Cancer Clinic. I know it's been exhilarating for you to hear how the doctors and experts teamed up together with the patients to work with their unique needs and see them achieve total health and healing. Seeing lives restored is truly the most rewarding part of this mission. For me, what I experienced this day was such a blessing. I gained some important answers to my questions, as I know you have also, and I found myself another step closer to discovering the truth about cancer, as have you, as we've joined arms and embarked together on this global quest. Wow, we have really learned a lot in this episode, haven't we? And in the next episode, we're going to learn even more. We're going to fly across the pond to London. We're going to interview a doctor that uses what's called the Budwig protocol. Now, this protocol is a very scientific protocol, and it deals with the electricity of the cells. We're going to also visit a clinic in the United States that deals with using electricity to treat cancer. And we're also going to visit Amsterdam, Netherlands, as we talk about the effect that light has on the cells. We're going to be traveling all over the world tomorrow. I hope you join us. And I hope that you realize that this is important information that could save your life or the life of a loved one, and I hope that you share it with your friends and family. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Stay well, stay healthy, and God bless all of you.
But even that ended up being a blessing because I was starving the cancer by not eating. I was so upset I wasn't eating, but cancer cells die off first. You know, and I learned that from the Quest for Cures. One of the physicians talked about that in his practice. So as my husband and I watched the Quest for Cures, the weekend before we decided to do treatment with Dr. Buttar, there were many physicians in there that spoke to things we were considering or thinking about, or things we didn't even understand that were going on with my body. I was already starting to kind of detoxify just by eating clean and eating very little, I should say, after the surgery. But to be 12 hours away from making a decision that probably would have ended my life prematurely or early, and then to have this beautiful documentary series be free to the public for us to download and watch for those 12 hours when we were in Atlanta at the Cancer Treatment Center just getting a second opinion. You can't put into words what Ty and all of the doctors and all the survivors, what they have done for my family and I. And if I can help just one other person make the decision, there are more options out there. It's not a dire situation for most cancer patients to rush into chemotherapy or radiation. And I'm so grateful that we did not do that, and we followed, you know, our faith, our hunch, our intuition, and also the great credible knowledge of wonderful doctors and patients who are living cancer-free after doing non-toxic therapies.
Quest for the Cure was one of the best experiences I've been on. It really did enlighten me and open my pathway to understanding that cancer is a defeatable disease, and if you just stay in there and hang in with the information and follow Ty and the things that he's doing, you'll really harness and get in touch with yourself, and then get in touch with a cure that will help turn the corner on any chronic disease that you might be facing and fighting at this time.
It tells a lot about the person when he suffers through these terrible events that took his family, and he's putting his energies into helping other people so they never have to suffer the same way. I believe he was inspired by God also, because it's a godly thing that he's doing, and I cannot thank him enough for everything he's doing to get the word out so people can protect themselves and their loved ones. And I think it helps doctors too. Even though I have crossed swords with doctors many, many times, I think that they need to hear the truth and see the non-injurious options, the possibilities of other things, And people say, I don't want to do that. So instead of saying, well, I can't help you, say, okay, well, here's an option. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but Ty has done such a great job of bringing this to the surface, and you see so many wonderful things happen. Why not? If you don't want to do chemotherapy and radiation surgery, let's try these other things. There's been many, many blessings over and over and over, so you got to respect Ty for bringing all this to the surface.
Wow, do you think it's saving lives?
Oh, absolutely. Saving lives, quality of life, doesn't get better than that.
We love what we do because we love you. We love bringing you this life-saving information of truth, health, and life. I hope you've enjoyed this series as much as we've enjoyed making it for you. It's a blessing to bring this life-saving information to you and your family. If you've enjoyed the docuseries so far and want to continue helping us with our life's work, then please consider owning The Truth About Cancer, A Global Quest today. From our family to yours, thank you for watching and thank you for your support. We'll see you next time.